All right, guys, what's going on? Justin here. We're starting a new podcast and don't have a name yet, but that'll come later. But I'm Justin Gillenwater, and to my right,
Hey guys, I'm Chris Fritz, Christopher Matthew Fritz III. Actually, just get that out there. We're starting this thing because it's something cool. We want to get out there. We want to get this thing promoted. We're going to move it on over to our third man.
So, I'm the elder statesman of this group here. Jason Pablo, for anybody who doesn't know who Jason Castle is. So, yeah, we're just going to get on here and talk about the shit that we like, really. I mean, wrestling, sports, UFC, movies, whatever we feel like talking about, that's what we're going to do.
yeah, this is really just something that we just had the idea about, and we were like, man, let's do a podcast, and we didn't really know. Like, we said, okay, we can't just focus on one thing, so why not just talk about everything that we're into and kind of just start recording these conversations that we have all the time. So that's really the whole point of this, and we hope you guys like it and hope it becomes a lot bigger deal. So I guess we should just jump right into it.
Yeah, first thing, though, talking about, we don't have a name for the podcast yet. So, we thought to get everyone involved, we're going to have a contest. And it's going to end next Friday. We're going to do another podcast. And you can send a message to us on Facebook, Twitter, just whatever. We're probably going to make a Facebook page. We're going to have a contest to name this podcast. And the winner will be the person we choose. And we'll use that name. And we may even send you a wrestling DVD or something.
The biggest thing here is, like I said, we just started this, and this is just going to be like a labor of love. So we're really going to hope, everyone listening to this is going to really get into it and, show support and share it to everyone you possibly can. And, we're kind of hoping this context that we're having early on is just going to be something that really gets us out there. I'd say get our name out there, but obviously we don't have that yet. But just try to get us out there and get some exposure and, see what happens with this thing.
So, I guess we're going to start off with something we all like. I know some people, they're probably like, you're too old for this, but we're all really big wrestling fans. So, whatever, I don't care. I love wrestling. I've watched it since I was little. And we're going to talk a little bit first. I know everybody thinks wrestling starts with and ends with WWE. Which we all, we watch it too. I'm not going to throw off on anybody. I watch everything independent WWE. But we have a local affiliate here. It's NWA Smoky Mountain. And we pretty much attend all the shows there. And you can usually see us sitting in the front row, probably with some signs, and not to incriminate ourselves, but there could be some streamers / maybe some toilet paper coming from our general direction during their shows.
We definitely don't want to say we're trendsetters, but
We're trendsetters.
yeah.
But it's always fun to go, and we have a good time. But we're a little bit about it. The NWA Smoky Mountain is up here. It's actually in Kingsport, Tennessee, is where it's based out of. They are a member of the NWA. Some of you old school fans will know the NWA from back in the 80s and early 90s a little bit of the old school territory days and stuff like that. Well, the NWA is kind of back with the territories. It was bought, and now we're kind of back to the territory days. And Bruce Tharp is the name of the president now. Really cool guy. If you ever seen him doing some work as a manager in Japan, he will wear some very, very colorful, bright suits and stuff. But he's really cool. He's doing great things. But the cornerstone of the NWA so far right now is NWA Smoky Mountain, which is our home promotion. And it is owned and promoted by Tony Givens. Tony is really, really good at what he does, and he has worked from nothing to what he is now to produce what he has so far, and it's really good. I know you think it's a bunch of hillbillies, but you can listen to these guys too. I mean, it's not just me talking a bunch of crap. He puts on good shows every time.
I mean, he really is the essence of coming from the bottom and making something of himself. And this promotion is really something that kind of revitalized wrestling for me. got out of the WWE for a while once I got a little bit older, and Pablo over here kind of brought Chris and I both back into this, and it was really just this revitalization, seeing young, new talent and seeing some old guys brought back in that really knew what they were doing. They're passionate about it. And it's not all about the money when it's something like that. I mean, these guys really love what they do, and, it shows in their craftsmanship every single day out there.
Yeah, and I know, you're thinking up in Kingsport, Tennessee, who's coming here, but this past year was a huge year for NWA Smoky Mountain. We saw guys from Davey Richards to Sabu to Evan Bourne, Kid Cash, even back to probably the best in-person show that I've ever been to in my life. It was Collision Course 10. Had a double main event, which saw Jason Kincaid, who is the NWA Smoky Mountain champion for going on over 4 years now. And if you don't know who Jason Kincaid is, and you like wrestling, you need to look him up. And don't just look at a picture, go watch his matches. Because if you just look at a picture, you're like, well, I don't know, that guy looks awful weird. I'm not sure. Believe me, this guy can go. There's a reason he's been the champ for working on his 5th year now. He was just in the Ring of Honor Top Prospect Tournament. He was the 2015 ECWA Super 8 champion. If you know the Super 8 tournament, we're talking Daniel Bryan, Davey Richards, Christopher Daniels had won this tournament and stuff and competed in it. But we had Jason Kincaid taking on John Morrison, Johnny Mundo in Lucha Underground, John Morrison from WWE. And that match was amazing. And that match alone was worth the price of admission for Collision Course 10. But we also had Chase Owens, who I'm not going to beat around the bush. Our whole panel, Chase Owens, we're big fans. But we had Chase Owens, who is probably my favorite wrestler that's not a big name guy right now, versus my favorite big name guy now in AJ Styles. And we were all at that show. It was amazing. I don't know what you thought.
I mean, it kind of, for me, it took me back to the, watching some of the old events when I was a kid, like WWE events way back in the day. And there was just there was this electricity in the room, and that match made that happen. I mean, I've never seen two wrestlers, one who idolized the other and just came out and blew everyone away. Literally the best match I've ever seen in person, and one of the best matches I've ever watched. If I'm going just from a technique standpoint, an entertainment standpoint, just a respect of two wrestlers in the ring going at each other, there was nothing better that I've ever seen from that.
And it's not just that Smoky Mountain just has the two guys. The whole roster that Tony has now is so good, top to bottom. It's got young guys. It's got guys who have just started. There's just the wrestling school that's around here is Ricky Morton from the legendary Rock and Roll Express. He has the School of Morton, and Tony's been letting some of those guys get they'll do the dark matches and stuff like that. But he's got guys that have been working there. He's got guys who have been working for a long time, guys who are newer. They've had, he brings in the World Heavyweight Champion. The NWA World Heavyweight Champion is Jax Dane. Godzilla. Jax Dane is exactly what you expect him to be when you hear the name Godzilla. But he comes in regularly. You have the Heat Seekers, which is Sigmund and Elliot Russell. And if you've not seen those guys yet or heard about them, they're the real deal. Sigmund has been around for a little while. He's a pro, a vet, and he can go with anybody. And Elliot Russell is maybe one of the best future people I've ever seen. I mean, from where he came from when he started to now, he reminds me of a young Barry Windham. But them as the Heat Seekers, they lost the NWA World Tag Team titles about a month and a half, 2 months ago. But they were the NWA World Tag Team titles. I'm not talking about Smoky Mountain titles, the World titles. But it's top to bottom, and Tony brings in guys all the time. This last show, me and Justin were at. Chris didn't get to make it because of some bad weather. But, we saw Jason Gorey. So he's a great talent, freaky kind of look.
Easily, if you're a heel guy, easily someone you would love. Someone that's really just got everything going. This guy's, he's scary, he's great in the ring, and just, even the antics that he would pull. I mean, this guy's the real deal, and just a really cool guy to hang out with after the show as well.
And then you had him versus Skylar Cruz, which is another young guy that Tony has who has loads of potential, and I think is just hitting his stride now. Then we also had Facade, the Neon Ninja. If you've not heard of him, look some of his stuff. He does some crazy stuff. High flying. Him and Sabu, I know, have had some matches. He fought Chase Owens, who Chase Owens is a 3-time NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion and is currently a member of the hottest faction thing going in wrestling today. He is a member of the Bullet Club. But that match was great. Then you have Jason Kincaid. But they do a good job. Tony does a good job of bringing people in. It was a really good show, top to bottom. I mean, you're not going to get disappointed.
I mean, it's one of those things. So it's this really cool atmosphere. I mean, it's an older building that's been there forever, and just everything about this, you can tell that there's so much work and so much energy put into the smallest things at this event. They really care about the quality, and it shows every single time. I mean, when you're bringing in some of these guys and they're trusting them, our local guys to come in here and steal the show. And every single match, you've got Jason Kincaid trying to steal the show, and then you've got Chase trying to steal the show, and you've got some of these other people, that are just coming up that are putting on matches that you wouldn't expect from someone who's still in a wrestling school or who's still, on the up and coming. We're not talking about main eventers here, but even last event, some of the matches that we saw were mind blowing for what they were. Todd Farley against
Toby Farley. He has been with Smoky Mountain. I don't think he's not been there a year yet. He is a member of the agency, which is managed by Dylan Wayne Sizemore, who you need to check out Dylan because he's entertaining. A little side note, Dylan, I don't know that he knows how this officially works, but Dylan has proclaimed that he wants to run for the president of NWA versus Bruce Tharp. I think he's getting a campaign going, so,
He's saying something like he wants to make wrestling great again. We don't know what that's all about.
But I'm all for making wrestling great again.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
But Toby Farley had a match with Tristan Ramsey, and technical wrestling, I don't know that it was the greatest match ever as far as if you were going just straight technical wrestling. But striking and just everybody, a crowd being in a match, they literally put on a show, and for lack of a better term, they beat the snot out of each other. I mean, they kicks, headbutts, easily the most headbutts I've ever seen in a match.
I don't think, if there was a Guinness Book of World Records for headbutts in a wrestling match, I think they would have broke the last record by at least 5 times. I mean, We're talking about these dudes, you can hear their heads crushing against each other, from the other side of the arena. I mean, it was that crazy. Everyone was on their feet. Everyone's yelling. I mean, these guys really did. They went out there and tried to steal the show.
And I think that's going to be the big thing going forward with NWA Smoky Mountain is because you do have those guys with Jason Kincaid, Chase Owens, Toby Farley, Jordan Cage, who's really good. And then the younger guy, Skylar Cruz, Axton Ray, Axton Ray is amazing. Axton Ray is going to be such a huge star, and the killer fact with Axton Ray is, spoiler alert, he's 18 years old and still in high school. I've watched him play high school football this past year while he's still wrestling. Just amazing talent. But you definitely need to check out an NWA Smoky Mountain show, especially if you're anywhere close to the area. It's well at your price. Front row's $20. I think it's $15 for the rest, maybe $10 somewhere in there. I mean, it's you can't take the family somewhere and get the entertainment you're going to get from there for that price, and it's not going to disappoint. Now they do. I will say that the next show for NW Smoky Mountain, when they'll be running in Kingsport at the Civic Auditorium, is February 13th. When they have Encore is the name of the show. And on that show, you will see the NWA World Heavyweight Champion that night, Godzilla Jax Dane. is going to defend the most prestigious title in all of wrestling. Let's just be real about it. It is. Versus the man we just talked about, Toby Farley, who is a very, very dangerous competitor for Jack Stane.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, he's got the strength. I mean, he's got everything that Jack Stane, and I don't really think he's faced someone like Toby before.
No. Toby has a background. He actually does mixed martial arts as well as just doing the wrestling. And I think it's going to be an interesting contest for Jax. Jax obviously is going to have a power advantage, but it's going to be interesting to see how the styles clash because I want to see Toby Farley with the running knee or the headbutts and the striking hit Godzilla, and let's just see if Godzilla can withstand the onslaught.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter how big he is. Eventually, he's going to fall, and I think that's what Toby's going to hope for. If he can wear him down, that's something that he really, really needs to try to do. We've also got Jason Kincaid defending his title against Vince Brett. Probably a crowd favorite as far as a local promotion. I mean, this guy's, he's one of the pretty boys, country boy top, but really, really exciting wrestler. I mean, he's high flying. He's willing to take risks. Just someone that Jason probably doesn't want to look forward to in a fight like this.
This match came about from the last show where it was a 6-man tag, and I'm pretty sure it was the first time in like 2 or 3 years somebody pinned Jason Kincaid inside the Kingsport Civic Auditorium, and it was Vince Brent by actually jumping from the top rope onto a guy's back and doing a moonsault onto Jason Kincaid to pick up the win, and kind of shocked everybody, which set up the fact after the match that Jason Kincaid and his group, the Cabal, which he has 2 massive, massive men, the Giants of Gehenna, which these guys are 6'7", 6'6" plus, and 300 plus pounds, Giants guys who them and Jason did a number on Vince after the match, so it's going to be interesting to see how Vince is looking coming into this match because it can come from an injury angle. But this could be the chance for Jason to lose the title for the first time in going on 5 years.
Yeah, and that's something he has to have in the back of his mind. You almost have to think about the fact that maybe Jason wanted this to happen. And maybe those shots, after the match was over, maybe that was him saying, hey, I'm going to get an early advantage if I can.
I mean, you can't blame him, though. I mean, Vince he's a young guy, but he's been around for a while. And he's very dangerous. But at the same time, Jason Kincaid has been the champion for 5 years for a reason. And, till proven otherwise, the whole Ric Flair, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And currently right now, Jason Kincaid's been the man. And nobody from Sabu, John Morrison, Davey Richards, Evan Bourne have been able to take that title from him. Which, from that, it leads me to a match that I'm looking forward to. It's going to be at the February 13th show, which is Chase Owens, the crown jewel, who is, bar none, one of the best young talents, too. He is going to take on the Southern Savior, John Skyler, who, for some of you who don't know, he was just on NXT recently. Very, very good guy. Like, legit, this match has the potential to actually steal the show and outshine maybe both championship matches. But those 3 matches with Toby Farley, Chase Owens, Jason Kincaid, Jack Stane, Vince Brent, John Skyler, those 3 matches alone are worth the price to come see. And if you go anything like what I think is going to happen with all of them trying to top each other and steal the show, it's got the makings to be an amazing, amazing event. So you definitely need to come out for that show. So, if we're not gonna talk about NW Smoky Mountain the whole time because I know not everybody's gonna be able to come see it. And you can check them out online though. Check out their YouTube account, NWA Smoky Mountain. That is Smoky without an E. We are not talking about a bear. We are talking about the mountains. Okay, NWASmokyMountain.com, or check out NWA Smoky Mountain on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can find their stuff. They'll have their weekly shows every morning, like Saturday. Every Saturday morning they'll be on there. But definitely need to check out NWA Smoky Mountain. But somebody we talked about while we were talking about Smoky Mountain, the man who has made the biggest news in the past week maybe in all of not just wrestling but sports entertainment in general, and that is the phenomenal AJ Styles, who made the rumors we had heard, but he finally made his appearance and entered the Royal Rumble this past Sunday at number 3.
Which is, that's something, we'd talked about this before and talked about AJ, and it's like, okay, is he ever going to get back into TNA? Is he ever going to get back into WWE? Is he going to stay doing this independent stuff, or is he finally going to go back and shine somewhere? And, look what happens. He comes back and he shows up in the Royal Rumble and really just kind of saves what WWE is trying to do. I mean, this is a guy they brought in because they had to, and he's really stepping up, and he's really showing them it's like, hey, I should have been here the whole time. This is something that I should have been doing from the beginning. I'm doing everything you guys need now.
Yeah, I think I loved AJ Styles before. I think when he left TNA, I was a little concerned, what's going to happen if he's going to fall away. Maybe the best thing that happened to him was leaving TNA and joining New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is for you, like, if you've not seen New Japan, like, I want you to listen to us. Stop what you're doing right now. Don't listen to us. Go look up New Japan Pro Wrestling and look at some of the matches they have, because they are the second largest wrestling company in the world behind WWE, and it's amazing the shows and stuff they put on. But AJ Styles went to New Japan and became the leader and was the IWGP champ as a member of the Bullet Club. And I didn't know that AJ Styles could get better than he was. He has reached a level where he is legitimately, and I don't even know if it's arguable now, he is the best wrestler on the planet. And for him to show up, the crowd the other night at the Royal Rumble, it was electric like I haven't seen it in forever. I don't know that WWE's had anybody since, the Daniel Bryan thing was huge, and it controlled a lot of stuff. But AJ Styles showing up, because WWE, if you don't know, there's so many people injured. They're scrambling right now trying to put together stuff for WrestleMania. But AJ Styles coming in and the crowd reaction, the chanting during the Royal Rumble, his T-shirt sold out the first night.
It was almost one of those things. It's like, okay, this reminds me of what WWE used to be. This was back when everything was so exciting, and it was like, okay. Now it's like, okay, we know what's going to happen. It's pretty predictable. But, AJ coming back and doing what he did, I think that really showed a lot of fans. It's like, hey, they're really trying to improve the quality. They're trying to get back to that place and say, hey, we're still the wrestling company everyone wants to watch, whether you like it or not. And, I think AJ, really kind of made that happen again.
Yeah, I think it's been the trend that WWE's going to now a little bit more. They have finally started taking in those independent guys. Before it was WWE. Vince didn't really want to get to the guys he didn't make. And you can say what you want. Vince McMahon's he's a damn genius. He's a billionaire for a reason.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
But he didn't like the fact, if he didn't make you, he didn't want to necessarily push you. Well, now that he's brought in, Seth Rollins was an indie guy kind of from Ring of Honor. Sami Zayn, Kevin Steen, Neville, a lot of these guys have all come from the independent circuit and already had names. Austin Aries showed up the other night on NXT. AJ Styles was kind of a household name, but now that he's in the big time, it's just going to get bigger. And I think that's what's actually going to save it. And a lot of people don't like Triple H. I think Triple H was the one who he's made this movement towards. He's trying to actually do what they say and have the best talent in the world all there together. And if you watch NXT, which is amazing,
might be better than just watching straight out WWE and Raw at this point.
The thing the other night, look, AJ Styles to me was the best thing about the Royal Rumble. Kevin Owens, Kevin Steen for independent guys, Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose, who was another indie guy. They had an amazing last man standing match. It was awesome. But other than that, and AJ Styles showing up, everybody and their mother knew it was either Roman Reigns wins or Triple H comes out at 30 and he's going to win. That's just, I'm not, I still watched it. I still love it. I'm still going to watch it. I'm not going to throw off, crap on the whole product or whatever, because, I love wrestling. But I was really happy to see AJ come in there. And then if you watch Monday night, AJ Styles versus Chris Jericho was just, it was probably Jericho. That was probably the first time anybody's made a first night impact since Chris Jericho showed up like he did the first night, and he come out and talked to The Rock. AJ Styles legitimately come out and beat a 6-time world heavyweight champion, Chris Jericho, in a great match.
Probably one of the best matches we've seen just on Raw in a long time, really and truly. I mean, I think that was something, some of the people that might not have tuned in that night, they went back, when they found it, they either watched it on the WWE Network, whatever, and they found it and said, wow, maybe this is something that I got to get back into.
Yeah, I think, because some people, honestly, some people aren't like us who watch a lot of wrestling, different wrestling. Like, some people just watch WWE and that's all they know. So, some people didn't know who AJ Styles was. So, you hear all this, you see him show up to Royal Rumble, but then you see him the next night on Raw, and for the casual fan who sees him versus Chris Jericho, who, he's a Hall of Famer, who's a 6-time world champ, beat The Rock and Stone Cold in one night to become the undisputed champion. I think it kind of cemented where I think they're going to send AJ, and kind of shut up some of the doubters who were all like, AJ shouldn't go, they're going to bury him, stuff like that. I think it kind of proved the point that AJ Styles is going to be a player, and now you get to start looking at matchups where, AJ Styles can face a Kevin Owens again, a Dean Ambrose. The one match, I'm going to be honest, I can't wait for him to get back. I want to see AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins.
I think that'd be a hell of a match.
I can't wait for that, but I think it's going to help in the long run. They still have Samoa Joe and some other guys that are in NXT that are right there where they're probably getting ready to come up, and it's going to be a good time for WWE again, I think.
And you got to think, having AJ doing what he's done, that's really paving the way even more so for people like Samoa Joe to come back into it and say, we've done this before. We know what we're doing. We're getting the chance now. All right, we're going to steal the show.
So, I'm ecstatic. I can't wait. AJ Styles to me currently is the best wrestler on the planet, and if you're going to be the best wrestler on the planet, you have to be in the big show on the planet, and he's there now in WWE, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward. I'm excited to see what they do. But moving on from that, and it kind of transitions from AJ Styles the other night at the Royal Rumble. I know, and this goes back to like when we were younger. We were talking about this earlier. When you're young, you cheer for the good guy. Like, everybody when I was little, it was, you go train, say your prayers, eat your vitamins. Everybody liked Hulk Hogan, thought he was the greatest thing. Had the cartoon, and of course, and I was a big Sting fan. I'm still a Sting fan, but as far as the Hogan thing, everybody, he was the hero, the conqueror, the guy that was going to save everything. Then I feel like as I got older, like, I appreciated the bad guy, the heel, the villain guy more. And, like, I hated Ric Flair as a child. But now that I'm older, you ask me who the greatest wrestler is, I'm probably going to say Ric Flair because he told story. I mean, like, he was the whole package. He could wrestle, but he could talk, and he just, what he put out was just amazing to me, and now looking back at it. But that brings me to my point about the Royal Rumble. Like, I'm not a hater of Roman Reigns. Like, I don't hate him like a lot. Everybody thinks it's cool right now to hate.
Yeah.
Like, everybody boos John Cena. Let's boo Roman Reigns. Boo. I hate. I may boo somebody, but it's more for me to just have fun. I feel like it's but as I'm older, I tend to like the bad guy more. But I think that was really relevant the other night because if you watched it, Roman Reigns got booed the whole match. And I mean, look, and everybody can say what they want. He's terrible. He can't talk. He's not that bad. Like, I think he's pretty good. It's just the flavor of the month. They don't want to hate this because the WWE universe or whoever you want to say it is, the indie guys, the internet world, people in general that watch wrestling, they think they know better. And I'm not going to say it might not be better if you book something another way. But it's not Roman Reigns' fault necessarily. I think the guy's working. I don't think it's that bad. But if you watched it the other night, when he got eliminated, that crowd went nuts. Like, they were cheering for Triple H, who, in the WWE's eyes, needs to be the heel, the villain, the guy you're booing. But they were ecstatic and cheering for Triple H. And just happy that Roman Reigns wasn't the champ. So I mean, I was wondering how y'all felt about that.
I think a lot of it comes down to, I think a lot of people that have been around wrestling a long time, and especially WWE, and in your case, and even in mine and Chris's cases, we grew up at the end of the Attitude Era. We got to see things that, if they showed them on WWE now, that would be terrible. Like they would get.
Oh, they'd kick them off the
network.
network.
Yeah, completely. I mean, some of the stuff that we saw, we probably shouldn't have seen as kids.
Yeah, no, it was racy, and there was a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but back then, everything was exciting, and even your good guys, that we grew up loving, they weren't people that you could predict. Like even then, the good guys weren't always good guys.
No, and the one who really started that was Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Stone Cold was, he's supposed to be the bad guy. He's the beer drinking, the cussing, you have, King of the Ring. He beats Jake the Snake.
Yep.
And he cuts the promo. You say your prayers. You say John 3:16. I say Austin 3:16 just whipped your ass. I mean, that statement right there. You may not like cussing, whatever. That statement right there sent us into the Attitude Era, to where guys who would have been a bad guy were good guys, and guys who would have been good guys were now bad guys. I mean, it changed everybody's outlook on everything, and you wanted to like the bad guy. You wanted to be the guy who was beating up the boss.
Yeah. And I think in a way that's one reason people are so frustrated when, they're booing Roman Reigns, they're booing John Cena and all these things. It's like they want them, it's like, have a little bit of character, like stand up to someone for 2 seconds and stop trying to be the good guy all the time.
Yeah, see, now I loved when Cena first started the rapper gimmick, which I was a little younger then. I loved the thugonomics.
Oh, yeah.
When he would come out and rap. Because now if you listen to his raps, I was watching some on the WWE Network the other day. I was watching an old pay-per-view, and I think it was him and Kurt Angle. And man, some of the stuff he says, like, it was kind of what you talked about, though. He couldn't say that now because they're trying to be PG.
Exactly.
But like, he was so entertaining and so into that character that it was really good. And you kind of liked him because he had that edge. And you want that edge in a guy. Whereas, now, and I, like, look, I don't hate John Cena. Like, I'll cheer for John Cena sometimes because you cannot question what that man does. I mean, his work ethic, what he puts into it, and the man has set the record for the most Make-A-Wish Foundation things done. I mean, he is what you want him to be as the face of the company. And, as the adults, the kids all still love John Cena. And I understand that's what they're trying to promote too.
And that's who they're pulling to now.
Yeah,
more than ever.
and they're wanting to get the kids. Because, let's be honest, I'm a dad. I got 2 kids, okay? Look, my kids want wrestling stuff sometimes. So I've got to buy that stuff for them. So obviously they're going to promote the kids because, they know the parents are going to spend the money. But what you have is then you have an event like the Royal Rumble the other night where your crowd is predominantly not going to be kids because it's too expensive to take kids. I mean, $400 or $500, $1,000 a ticket. I can't afford to take both my kids. But if all of us went and you got the majority of your crowds, 20 years old to 40 years old, we all grew up kind of with that Attitude Era. We don't want to see this, what's just straight, Super Cena always going to win, whatever. You want to see something different. You want to be took out of the norm. And I don't know where the balance is with all that right now. I mean, I know you got to try and get the kids into the market, but at the same time, John Cena, Roman Reigns get booed out of the building at the live events. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, it's just this really weird thing. It's like, okay, we want all of our marketing, we want all of our focus to get more kids into this. We want the parents to spend money and all this, but at the same time, it's like they're forgetting about the fact that you've had loyal fans for 20 to 40 years
who want the entertainment aspect.
They want the entertainment. They don't want the predictable 5 moves of doom and say the right thing and win the match. They don't want that. They want what they've always seen. And I think WWE's not realizing that change is causing a lot of people to fall out. It's what caused me and also Chris to fall out.
Right, and then that goes back to the bringing in. See, and fans have changed from the way it was in the 80s and even in the 90s. Fans have gotten smarter. And there's shows, dirt sheets, whatever you want to call them, spoilers. where fans can, they can find out what's going on behind the scenes. Whereas, 30 years ago, I legitimately thought, Ric Flair and Sting, or Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Hulk Hogan, and Andre the Giant, I thought they really hated each other. They'd kill each other if they saw each other on the street. It's not that way. Now everybody knows what happens behind the scenes. So now I feel like the fans need the shock value, the entertainment aspect more, and they want a better product. They need the characters, because I feel like a lot of it's toned down now. They don't have characters, they just have guys. But I feel like fans now want a better product. They want the better matches. And, Roman Reigns and John Cena would have obviously been started. Look, 80s and 90s, no problem, John Cena and Roman Reigns, who they're huge stars now, don't get me wrong. But guys who are our ages would have still been cheering for those guys then.
Yeah.
Now, it's different. Like, I want to see something great. Like, and not that those guys don't have great matches. Kevin Owens and John Cena tore the house down in some of their matches they had. But I would, I want to see not necessarily the big bulky guys all the time. I like seeing, Seth Rollins, Daniel Bryan, Neville, AJ Styles, Finn Balor, who used to be Prince Devitt in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Guys like that who I feel like, they go more in the ring than necessarily some of the other ones. It's more entertaining to me. But I understand, too, having to face a company that,
the mass appeal.
I'm like, no, I'm not gay or nothing. Obviously, I got 2 kids. Nothing against the guy if you are gay. John Cena's a good-looking guy. Like, he's not dating Nikki Bella or engaged or whatever they are for nothing. Like, he's a good-looking guy. And Roman Reigns, good-looking guy. If you watch them when they come out, the women are going crazy. They love them. I'm not disputing that fact. And I don't have a problem with how they do stuff. It's just, I think, fans have gotten smarter, and fans want what they want. And I understand WWE doing what's best for business. I know that's a term not many people like to hear. But, I want to see what happens within the next year. Because there's a lot of indie guys, or you go on, if you want to call them indie guys, whatever. Like AJ Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, the Bullet Club, part of the Bullet Club, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson are coming to WWE, and Nakamura is one of the most entertaining human beings on the planet. All right, just straight up look him up. New Japan Pro Wrestling, Nakamura, dude is straight up gangster. I'm telling you, he's awesome. But it's going to be interesting next couple years. And going back to the fans respecting or going crazy for something other than the cookie cutter, clean cut guy, Brock Lesnar, who the other night, like anytime Brock comes out now, there's a huge pop. And Brock Lesnar to me is an entity into himself. Legitimately, let's be real, when Brock Lesnar wants to hurt someone, he can go hurt someone.
Yeah, and with you bringing up Brock Lesnar, I'd heard some talk and even read this in a few different articles. They were even talking to Batista, trying to bring someone like him back in.
Yeah.
And I think that's because they're realizing people are gravitating towards someone who's this monster guy that can really do whatever he wants at any time.
Right. And I like some of the angles because it's looking like we're gonna get Brock Lesnar versus Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. And that's another guy. Look, I love Bray Wyatt because he's kind of got that old school feel to him because he has a character. And he's really into that character. And if you watch him, like when he talks and does his promos, and he's got those huge guys with the masks, and Luke Harper, who looks amazingly creepy and like Bruiser Brody.
Yeah.
Just him cutting a promo. I love Bray Wyatt. I think that they have misused him a lot. But I'm looking forward to him versus Brock Lesnar. But talking about Brock Lesnar and talking about the whole, people like him bad guys, let's transition from wrestling for a minute. Let's talk about somebody who I guess you would probably, some people, not us, because I know how we feel about this, would consider a bad guy. And let's talk about UFC and a guy we're all fans of, the man, the man. All right, hopefully be a 2-class champion pretty soon. Hopefully, and that is Conor McGregor.
The Irish Machine. First of all, I just want to throw this out there. Dude has the coolest tattoos in the whole UFC. Like, you cannot tell me any different. Traditional tattoo, respect for Conor McGregor. But we're talking about a guy who comes out there, he beats someone to death. And then, he's going to talk smack afterwards. He knows what he's doing every single time. And, Chris was, bringing this up to me earlier. He was talking about, like, a lot of people don't like this guy because he's a villain, but, that's the guy that we want. We want the loudmouth.
So, it's like, with Conor, I know a lot of people, they don't like him because he is the loudmouth guy, but, like, I don't care. Like, you can say he talks a lot of shit. I mean, he does. The problem with that is, and the thing that I think bothers more people than it is the fact that he talks that, is the fact that he backs it up. I mean, look, I know you can say it was a fluke, and you know what? He may lose to Jose Aldo, whatever, if they fought again. But when a man comes out and says, look, I'm going to knock him out, and he does it in like 12 seconds, you can hate him all you want to, but you can't give him shit. You can say lucky punch, whatever. Look, he knocked a man out after he called it. And now he's setting his sight on the middleweight title.
I mean, he's just overall the baddest dude on the planet right now. I mean, he's going to go out there, say what you want about shit talkers. I was really bad for it, in all my sports. Pablo was too. Chris obviously a bit more quiet, but like, if you back something up and if you say I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna punch this guy and I'm gonna put him on the floor, and you do that, that man's speaking the truth. You can't say anything about him. If he's doing what he says he's doing, he's backing it up. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, well, and then going from him too, another guy who I like, and look, I know he's made mistakes. I know he's technically, he broke laws. Okay, just straight up, he did. Like, I was a huge fan before, and I still am. And I really feel like he is going to come back and absolutely just dominate everybody. And that's John Bones Jones. The dude is a freak, the way he is built. I didn't think there was anybody anyway could beat him at light heavyweight. But I'm after seeing his workout and what he looks like now, he's going to hurt. I think, me personally, you can think what you want, don't like me, I don't care. He's going to hurt Cormier. Daniel Cormier is going to get hurt by John Bones Jones. It's not going to go the rounds this time. Like, it's going to end. I really think that. And I'm not so far as to say if he wins the title back and maybe he fights a couple fights, as big as he is, the big question is, can he make that jump to heavyweight?
See, I think that's where the problem with his really unique build is. Can he bulk up enough with that lanky frame to go out there and take on these big guys? These guys that if they get on top of him, you don't know if he's going to be able to get out of the way. I mean, you don't know if he can get out of that.
That's true, but I think it's going to be interesting to see his first match back. And I know Daniel Cormier wanted it to be for the title, which I think it was Cormier hoping he'd be rusty, and he wants him the first fight. From what I've read, he's probably not. That's not going to be his first fight. But going back to the bad boy thing, look, and it's the same thing. Like, a lot of people hate Conor, a lot of people hate John Bones Jones. I like them. I like them because they have personalities. I like how they fight. Like, I don't like just guys who just go out there and they're kind of the cookie cutter guy. They're just something plain. I want to see those guys. I like the fact that Conor McGregor. Look, there's a reason he made more money than anybody ever made this past year, and it is because he's that good. But it's not because it's just he's that good. It's because he's a salesman. Like, he puts on a show before the show even gets there that makes you want. Look, you may not even care about the rest of the card, but you want to see the Conor McGregor fight. Period. I don't care if it lasts 12 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting these people that come in and say, okay, I know nothing about MMA. I know absolutely nothing. But this guy, Conor McGregor, that son of a bitch can fight.
Yeah.
And he backs it up, and I want to watch that guy knock someone out every single time.
Same thing with Bones Jones. People are going to hate him. He's going to get booed. He's a terrible role model, all this other stuff. Whatever. Look, straight up, like I'll tell my kids, for the most part, They don't need to have role models that are necessarily athletes. Some of them are okay, but look, if you have to rely on a role model to be the person you want your child to be, you're in deep shit anyway. Okay, but getting from that, I'm looking forward to something else that is supposedly going to happen, or hopefully get announced pretty soon, and that is somebody else who is in both worlds that we've talked about so far. Supposedly, hearing some things, CM Punk is going to make his UFC debut this year. He's been training for over a year now. I know some people are a little worried about that, but what are your thoughts about Punk being in the UFC?
I mean, I follow this guy on Twitter, and I've always been a huge CM Punk fan, even back in his way independent days, before he got the UFC, or before he got the ECW, before WWE, before this UFC thing, whatever. This dude is hilarious. And, this is the type of guy on Twitter, like, one person says, "Hey, Punk, you suck. You're going to get your ass knocked out in the UFC." And he says, "No, watch what happens." I mean, this dude is throwing shade at people he doesn't even know. Yeah. He's fired up.
Look, if you can announce you're going to fight in the UFC and you piss off a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, all right, you have some star power right off the bat.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what everybody else says. They can fuss about him, say he's going to be a joke, whatever. Everybody thought Brock Lesnar was going to be a joke. Look, if Brock Lesnar had been training in the UFC all along and had never got the diverticulitis and all that stuff, I still don't know that he's been beat. In all honesty. I mean, Brock was a freak. So everybody wants to throw, well, a wrestler can't come in and do this. You can't say that. Brock came in, and yeah, you can say he maybe didn't fight the best competition, but he beat a Hall of Famer, Randy Couture.
And he beat Frank Mir.
Yeah.
And in a hell of a fight.
Yeah. So, for everybody to just go ahead and cast CM Punk, like, oh, it's just going to be a damn sideshow, whatever, it's nothing major. To me, I think it's a mistake. Because, I mean, he's been great. He's going to sell tickets, too. I mean, obviously. There's no doubt about this. I mean, all your casual fans and all the wrestling fans, they're going to pull in for CM Punk's first fight. It's going to be huge. And if he can pull off and make the transition from wrestling to UFC, then I will call it UFC is going to have the biggest year of their life with CM Punk, Conor McGregor, John Bones Jones coming back.
Ronda Rousey even.
Ronda Rousey, she comes back. I mean, that's going to be her and Holly Holm fight. It's going to be a huge fight.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's assuming Holly Holm makes it past her couple fights she probably have. But with Ronda Rousey, John Bones Jones, CM Punk, and Conor McGregor, it's kind of the same deal. You either love them or you hate them. But they have the edge appeal, that edginess to them, where they have that character, that persona that they give off. And you can like them or hate them. Guess what? You're still buying the damn pay-per-view. That's the whole key. You can hate John Cena. Look, you may buy a pay-per-view to see John Cena lose every time, okay? Guess what? They won because you still watch the pay-per-view. That's their job. Whether you got to realize that or not, that's what they're there to do.
And I think one thing, going back to, these transition type athletes like Brock, like Punk's trying to do, and, there's probably others that, probably had smaller careers that we didn't know about. But the thing about it is, everyone doubts them at the beginning, but you got to think about this. Whether these guys, whether you think wrestling and, their entertainment field is a sport or not, these guys are athletes. I mean, they're freakish athletes. They wouldn't have got there if they weren't. So, I mean, you gotta take that into consideration before you say, Punk's just going to be another failure. Oh, Brock was just going to be another failure. Brock did his thing. Dude was a freak in nature.
Dude, Brock Lesnar, who was, NCAA champion in college, wrestler. Then came to WWE and dominated. Youngest champion ever up until Randy Orton won it. Beat The Rock. Dominated everybody. Like you've never seen anybody dominate The Undertaker the way Brock Lesnar did. But then he leaves wrestling. He didn't go straight to the UFC. He made it to the last cut of an NFL football team for the Minnesota Vikings and didn't even play football in college or nothing. I mean, that tells you right there. Look, you can say, and I hate it when somebody does it. Well, wrestling's fake. Why do you like that stuff? Look, let me explain something to you. Go tell a professional wrestler. Go tell them it's fake, and then get in a ring with them and see how fake it feels. All right, they are legitimate athletes. Period. Bar none. There's no question. So for anybody to say that kind of stuff as far as going back and forth, I don't feel like they're educated enough, and I feel like they just want to cast shade on that and not accept the fact that, hey, these guys could be something that benefits it. Look, Kurt Angle, I feel like if Kurt Angle had done UFC or just MMA when he was younger, he's a little too probably past his prime now.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
But if he didn't have the neck stuff and all that, his Olympic gold medal background in just wrestling would have got him through part of the UFC.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, if he would have picked up any kind of striking whatsoever, he could have been a competitor.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
All right, so moving on a little bit away from the UFC thing, let's talk about something that kind of relates back to me talking about the football thing with Brock Lesnar, but it really doesn't. Let's just be honest. We're going to talk about something that's shitty. Like, there's no other way to put this. And since the Super Bowl's next weekend, we're not going to talk about it yet. We'll talk about it next week, make our picks, all that. But let's talk about the worst, absolute worst, crappiest all-star game of all. And I love football, but the Pro Bowl is it's more like a toilet bowl than it is a Pro Bowl, okay?
I mean, let's be honest. More people would probably watch an all-star lacrosse game than the Pro Bowl. I mean, we're talking about guys who have openly stated, we don't care about the Pro Bowl. And they get out there and, the best part of it is when they pick the teams. Literally the only part that's entertaining whatsoever. And they get out there and, they half-ass this game and they do their little celebrations. And really, it's just awful. Like, there's nothing, nobody watches it. Like, nobody cares. They tried to move it right before the Super Bowl. That didn't work. I mean, really, nothing has made it any better, and you got to think, like, what are they going to do?
Look, the three of us could honestly go out there and put on a hell of a game. 10 times better than the Pro Bowl. I could go out and find 11 dudes down this neighborhood, bring them into the backyard, and we'd probably gather a bigger crowd than the Pro Bowl does every single year. No one tries. I mean, Roger Goodell wanted to shut it down until J.J. Watt went out there and played as hard as he could to try to convince them that they still needed to have this thing. The NFL really doesn't even want this thing, but they still do it because the fans get involved. They have a fantasy draft, and that the fantasy draft is really, honestly, what I think has kept this alive, because that's the most entertaining aspect that's left of the Pro Bowl.
Well, here's my problem with it too. Is from back when I was younger, it was always after the Super Bowl. And everybody always played in it. See, like, even today, I was, the Patriots who just lost to the Broncos this past weekend. Tom Brady and Gostkowski and some of the other guys who made the Pro Bowl team aren't going to play in the Pro Bowl. So now, like, it started off with they picked, like, 86 players to play in the Pro Bowl. Now, after people have, well, I'm not going to play, and I'm injured. And I understand if you're really, really injured. But if it's just, hey, I'm tired, I don't want to go over there, I don't want to make the trip, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I have a problem with that. I mean, this is supposed to be a Pro Bowl, the game for the fans. That's what All-Star games are supposed to be, is it's for the fans to get to see all the best players that this sport has to offer, and you don't get that now. I mean, when you have, like, you're down to, like, the sixth quarterback from the league, from each side or whatever, to me, it's not the Pro Bowl that I grew up. When I grew up, each team, they split them up. And on this team, your three quarterbacks. On this side, you had Troy Aikman, Steve Young, whoever. I mean, you had three legitimate Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and they were playing against the best defense. Bruce Smith, Junior Seau, just every big-name player that was playing this time was in that game. Whereas now you have this drummed-down version of basically flag football, because nobody really hits anybody since, Sean Taylor just laying out the punter back, the late Sean Taylor, who was amazing. Since that happened, and since Drew Brees got hurt, and I agree, like, it would be really terrible for somebody to get hurt bad in the All-Star game, the Pro Bowl. I feel like, if you're not going to put the best players in it, like the best 86, 84, how many ever players it was, you need to have those best. If you're not going to have those best players for the league there, then why do you even have it? It's not really your true all-star game. What are you're trying to promote your product, but you're not putting your best product out there.
And one thing I think they're forgetting to look at here is, I know the Pro Bowl has always been after the Super Bowl. That's always been a really big thing. But other sports, for instance, the NHL All-Star Game's coming up this weekend. NBA All-Star Game's coming up. it's in the middle of the season.
Baseball's in the middle.
They take a break. Like they say, okay, we're going to give you guys 2 or 3 weeks, whatever it is. We want you to take a break, and during that time, we're going to have an all-star game. We're going to have skill competitions. We want everyone to have fun. Gives them a break from what they're doing. Why not do that for football? Why not start maybe a week or 2 early, or extend it a little bit further, and give them that break in between?
I'll tell you why. It goes back to the money aspect. These owners don't want to take the chance on, like what we saw happen with the NBA. You saw Paul George, when he's playing for the U.S. team, break his leg on a freak accident.
Yeah.
Never happened in a million years. Freak accident. He missed, part of the season, a lot of the season. I think that is the one drawback. And I understand the owners, they're trying to protect their money and that stuff too. But I feel like instead of maybe putting it in the middle, because I think it would be hard to do the football in the middle, because there is that. You're less likely to get hurt in the NBA All-Star game, the hockey All-Star game, the baseball game, than you are the football game, because it is physical. But to me, I think it still needs to be after the Super Bowl, not the week before. I know you're trying to fill the weekend before the Super Bowl, but have the Senior Bowl, which I think is this week. Build it up more for the college guys who you're going to see, and get more of the big name college guys you can. Look, if a guy is declared for the draft, here's one thing I think would help the Senior Bowl. Let's build this game up to give you that break in the middle. The guys who have declared for the draft that aren't going to go back to school, like I think by now you've already had to declare for the draft and you're in the draft. Like you can't go back to school.
Once you do that,
once
you're
you do
done
that,
you're done with college.
I know it's called the Senior Bowl. I think they ought to let those players all go play in that game if they want to. So you could have a junior or a redshirt sophomore play in it, and you can get those bigger name guys. I mean, it's hard to get the seniors. I mean, let's be honest. There's not many senior football players in college that are waiting until their senior year to come out.
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of guys that if you're that good, they're done leaving after a redshirt sophomore junior year. And in that case, I feel like if you could let those guys play in it, you build that game up more. Well, then let's give them 2 weeks or a week after the Super Bowl. And let's have the Pro Bowl then. And then that allows you to have, here you go, Cam Newton, Luke Kuechly, Peyton Manning, the DeMarcus Ware, Von Miller. You get to have the best players who are going to play in the Super Bowl who they made the Pro Bowl team. But they don't even get to play in the Pro Bowl now. And maybe you can get some of those guys like Tom Brady. Some of the guys who they're going to say, well, look, I have a lower body injury just so they don't have to go take the trip to play in the All-Star.
Yeah.
I feel like they need to do something to make that game matter because currently, I mean, and like I said, all of us love football. I have no desire to watch the game whatsoever because it's basically watching flag football. I mean, the best part about watching the game is I like the uniforms. I mean, because they've changed the uniforms. The uniforms are pretty cool. But other than that, I mean, the draft thing is the coolest part. I mean, that's just me trying to come up with a solution because to me, it needs fixing or it needs to be done with. That's the 2 options.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, if you're going to do it right. If you're not going to do it, don't try to half-ass it. Just completely get rid of it or fix it. Like, don't do some in-between option to draw in the, maybe 1/4 of your NFL viewership that might watch it. I mean, that's something that they really just you got to fix it. You got to do something. Take something away from all these other sports that are doing something right and bring that to your side.
Right. You got anything, Chris? You want to throw in on the Pro Bowl sucking?
Well, other than it sucks, I think we pretty much got it.
All right, so I guess we're going to kind of start wrapping up. We're getting close to an hour, so if you listen to us for an hour, bless your heart.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, please don't be that cruel to us. We know we probably suck, but it was fun. We get to just basically talk about all the shit we like. Next week we'll probably talk a little bit more about football because we got the Super Bowl coming up. NBA All-Star games coming. Maybe a little bit of wrestling depending on what all happens. See what happens with the UFC. I know the heavyweight match that was supposed to be at 196, both fighters have pulled out, and they've actually moved that to not even being a pay-per-view now.
Yep.
Just a whole lot of other stuff. Also, if you got something you want us to talk about or questions, look us up on Facebook. Facebook, you got Chris Fritz, Justin Gillenwater, and that's Justin with a Y.
Do not get that wrong.
Yeah, my parents kind of damned me with that. I'm sorry about that in advance.
And then I'm Jason Castle. Hopefully, most of you know who I am. I mean, I'm feeling like a lot of you who listen to this and actually pay attention are probably going to know us, but tell your friends that we're the coolest guys.
And all this stuff, you know, all our contact information, all that, we'll have that in the description below this. So, you know, if you're trying to write all this stuff down and pause it, you know, don't worry about that. We'll have our links. So
Yeah,
you know, don't fret.
We'll have the Twitter.
Yeah.
The Twitter accounts. We'll put them on there. The Twitter and Facebook, all those. Maybe we'll make us our own Facebook page pretty soon. But I want to remind you again, we're going to have the podcast name contest. So you help us come up with the name, and hopefully by next Friday we have more than one person who's just like, you guys suck. Because if not, we're going to have to name this the You Guys Suck podcast. Please don't make us do that.
Yeah, we really don't.
I don't want to have to put that on there, or eventually make a T-shirt that says "We Suck." So here's the deal: give us a name, send us a message on Twitter, Facebook. We'll have the information stuff on here, and just tell us what you would think we ought to call this show, and we'll use your name. And I'll tell you what, we will throw in a NWA Smoky Mountain DVD. I don't know which one, but of our choosing. It'll be good because all their shows are good. But other than that, y'all got anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. See ya.